Hello and welcome. For ChinaSolved, I'm Andrew Hubert, and this is the China Negotiator, special New Year's edition. China 3 years out. I'm dispensing with the usual one-year prediction because it's just too bleak. So let's take a look at what China is going to look like in February 2022, the beginning of Year of the Tiger. Divergence is the theme. Divergence and alliances. China is going to do the minimum necessary to keep the ports busy, but it knows it's reaching an impasse with the West as far as economics and trade, and it's making other arrangements. It's decided that the U.S. will always be a competitive and problematic relationship, that conflict with the West is systemic, not personal. It's not based on Donald Trump. So whether or not Donald Trump is still president in 2022, these ideas will hold true. And China sees Western institutions as failing, and this being a great moment to step in and create its own global institutions. So the takeaway is that China will diverge, it will create a China zone of economies, and the future of the global economy will be characterized by competition for alliances and markets. Free trade as we know it may not be ending, but it is definitely going through some changes. Here's what we're talking about today. The new reality. Virtual harmony. Welcome to the China zone. So let's focus on Beijing 2021, 2022, and look at the new reality. Let's look at Chinese strategy and talk about turtles and tigers. So China's at this impasse in its relationship, and it's going to run a three-pronged strategy with the West in the short term. But the turtle period is just transitional, and we're going to end up something much different. The first new reality is that China's going to become very defensive in the short term. So in the next few years, look for China to be relatively accommodating as it must be with Washington and with the West. At home, it's going to become more repressive and more controlling, and it's going to become more aggressive about building alliances abroad. But make no mistake, China's mission is to lead the world. The true symbol of China is going to be the territorial tiger. So decision makers have to be more attuned to the way state media is referring to China's political strategy. Xinhua News, which is like the Fox News of China, if they start saying things like the new reality or a China that can lead, you should take that as an indication that China is becoming more aggressive in its foreign policy. And that leads to the next new reality of mercantilism with Chinese characteristics. China's going to be rebuilding the Silk Road and going further with OBOR, One Belt, One Road. And it's going to be using credit, and that means a lot of debt, dual-purpose technologies, preferential tariffs, and social technologies to entice new OBOR client allies and partners. And closer to home, island building has just become status quo. So these man-made islands are being promoted, and the soft power machine is rolling out in full force. And some people are trying to call these the Chinese Bahamas. The 9-dash islands, as they're also being called, are becoming very popular with tourists. And the netizens really like this. And China has been floating plans to use the islands for public safety, for navigation, and for residential. Number 2, virtual harmony. China's internet will provide great convenience for those who get along. So let's start by looking at the social credit system. First of all, 3 years out, it is a success. Data is being collected from private and public sources and managed by the government. There's an integrated set of carrots and sticks. For those that behave well, you can get international travel permission and you can get your kids into the good schools. And for those with bad social credit scores, you might find it's not only difficult to get an international flight, it may be hard to keep a job or an apartment. Next, the Red Guard 2.0, or whatever they're going to call it, is going to be back, and it's going to be bigger. The 50-cent army was quaint by comparison to what the new social grassroots organizations are going to look like. They're going to be online, they're going to be international, and they're going to be organized, they're going to be directed, and maybe even sponsored. China has always taken an interest in social engineering, and this is just a natural advancement of everything they've put in place in the physical world. WeChat, TheyListen. The call to the party is coming from inside the house. In America, we have the Amazon Echo. In China, they're going to have the Linglong Ding Dong. And it's always on, always helping, always listening, and always reporting on you. The party knows what you're thinking. And you'll be having virtual tea with CorrectBot very soon. Finally, let's look at the ChinaZone Society. Mercantilism with Chinese characteristics. Membership has its benefits, and China's going to be setting up one giant special economic zone called the China Zone. It's going to be a free trade zone for other members only. There are also rumors that there'll be a two-tier IP system, one for global trade and one for China Zone trade, which has much weaker protections. NeoMercantilism, or mercantilism with Chinese characteristics, is going to play a big role in global competition going forward. The state champions and the AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and Ready Credit are going to make it very easy for countries on the OBOR route to join the China Zone. Big infrastructure projects and no pesky moral judgments or ethical questions. As long as China can control your port facilities and can control the debt terms and can control access to your infrastructure, it's happy. So earlier we talked about physical island building, but China is also going to be doing some political and economic island building. Southeast Asia and Africa are already pretty much on board by 2022. Central Asia, especially the Uzbekistan, Tehran, Moscow corridor, are also warming up to the China Zone idea. And now it's just a matter of connecting dots on the enhanced old Silk Road. And finally, the digital suzerainty. China never colonized. That's not how China projected power. China used suzerainty, which is when you exact tributes and control of the foreign policy of your vassal states. And in exchange, you bestow the great blessings of peace and civilization. Well, the same idea is going to be applied to economies along the OBOR planning maps. China is going to bestow the blessings of its advanced society, like censorship, population control, internal spying, dual-use technologies, large infrastructure projects, political stability, in exchange for port facilities and control of your economy. And the crown jewel in the China Zone introductory package is the IT package that China provides. So new signatories to the China Zone agreement can get their IP backbone built by Huawei, complete with firewall technologies that will protect their internet from outside interference. Censorship provided by Baidu's social credit system, which is probably going to be Alipay, but I'm not sure. Banking and payment systems will be provided by Alipay, and the whole suite of WeChat services can be provided and localized by Tencent. China can prop up its friends and welcome a host of new countries and new markets to the world's largest special economic zone, the China Zone. Final word, China has isolated itself from the West before, and not that long ago either. This is actually pretty normal for China, and the period of openness that we've been experiencing since 1978 is more an exception than the norm. If you're a Western decision maker with international responsibility, you are going to need a new game plan for managing supply chains and access to growing markets like ASEAN and Africa. Regulations, sanctions, and free trade agreements, these are all going to become major competitive tools for multinationals from different countries, and you're going to have to start monitoring these situations much more carefully. Thanks very much. I hope you all have a great 2019, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.